Що це ніщо? Ніщо. Видиш? Чи не мав тут терпіти? Богдан! Будь ласка, щось. Я пробую квічити, але щось дивися, от я.
Виключити звук першим.
Першим ділом звук. Так. Так, тепер. Hello. Hello. Perfect now. So you can hear me and you can see me, right? Good. So today I am trying to make my report in more early time. So the topic is games between Lasker and Bogoljubow. I will try to consider. So, bishop b5, Spanish classical system, and d4. E takes d4. Okay, modern theory suggests to play bishop g4. And only after bishop e3, black can take on d4. Black has some other moves, but it takes d4 is the main line. Also, bishop h5, for example, is also a reasonable alternative. And after knight bd2, Kirill Alexeyenko against me played e takes d4, c takes d4, knight b4. Idea is knight d3, if queen b1, c5, so a3, knight c6, h3, it's one of possible continuation. So disadvantage of e takes d4 that now white has excellent square for his knight. And Lasker utilized this opportunity, knight c3 instead of bishop e3, which goes to theoretical position. So, is it everything okay now with voice, with video? So after c3, white advantage in the center. Bogoljubow played knight a5, bishop c2, c5. He's trying to create some contraplay. White has pleasant choice. D takes c5 is very natural. Maybe white has some alternatives here, but probably knight e2 is also possible, with idea to take this knight. If knight c6, bishop e3, but anyway, what did Emmanuel Lasker is more natural. He took on c5, he played e5. Can you confirm that you hear me? Hello? Hello? Good. So, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, knight d7, endgame in the board, but white has initiated. Lasker played h3, knight d5 is possible as well, but probably bishop e8. White has some problem with e5 pawn, so black is ready to play knight c6, so Lasker starts with h3 now. Bishop takes f3 is obviously impossible because rook takes d7 and white is winning the piece. So bishop e6, knight d5. Obviously white has more active position. So now bishop d8 is bad because knight f4. White is obviously better. Hello. Which country are you from? So bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, knight b6, rook d. d8 played Bogoljubow. Okay, probably there are some other options, but anyway, white is better. I mean, probably black can consider this. If bishop e4, rook a8, or rook ac8, rook a8, bishop g5. So white is fighting for d line, and they are ready to exchange bishop. I don't know if this is really the best plan, but it's very concrete. Like bishop f4, for example, is possible alternative. But if bishop f4, probably knight d5. Black can consider this idea knight b4. The question how strong it is. For example, bishop g3, knight b4, bishop e4 is possible. Obviously, black cannot take on d1 and on a2 because rook e1 is coming. So white has quite pleasant position. If, for example, c4, knight d4 is coming, this idea knight f5. But okay, so bishop g5 played Emmanuel Lasker. Bogoljubow played f6. So he exchanged bishops in this version. I'm not sure that this is the best choice, but okay, we can consider what else black can do. So if simply take, knight takes g5, and now white has tactical threat. And white is winning. But the g6 is possible, and now e6, however, can be problem for black and not so easy to defend everything. But we can try this, доброго дня, this, rook c8. Looks like white is better, but if rook d6, black has knight ac4, so white cannot win material immediately here. So probably white should play something like bishop e4 at the moment. Something like this. Idea to prepare rook d6 in better moment and cut knight on a5. But I can try also improve his knight. Knight c6 is possible as well. Because if white is taken, now knight g5, g6, now it's question. If e6, maybe black can even play f6. I'm not totally sure, but f6 is bad because rook takes d8 and knight e4, and this is the but knight d5 and knight takes c5, rook c8. Opening what was okay. Opening was Spanish, but here instead of correct bishop g4, bishop g4 is obviously correct move. Bogoljubow played e takes d4. E takes d4 is bad move because now after knight c3 white is better. So bishop g4 is better. After bishop e3, and now it's possible to take, and for example d5, e5, knight e4. And if, for example, knight c3, knight takes c3, b takes c3, f5 is possible here to block position in king's flank. And now this position is playable for black, but very important that black cannot realize the same idea after h3, bishop h5, and now knight c3. Now f5 is bad move with h3, bishop h5, because after e takes f6, white is better. The difference that after rook takes f6, white has g4. So here e takes f6, rook takes f6 is very good for black, because white cannot defend against bishop takes f3. So Bogoljubow mistaken in the opening, but he's trying to play in inferior position. So endgame is better for white. Okay, probably. So knight c6 it's possible to consider, because okay, bishop e4 as well, but after bishop e4, black can take on g5 with chances to survive. So bishop takes h7, king h8, f4. f6 maybe. Okay, anyway, it can be unpleasant because e6 is coming. So bishop e4 probably it's interesting. Okay, so hello, thanks for subscription. So black is still in trouble. Somehow not so easy to defend such position. Okay, so Bogoljubow played f6 now. Now he restrict white knight, so white has no possibility knight g5 or knight a5, but pawn structure now is worse for black. So rook ac1, natural move, although white has other interesting opportunities. For example, knight h4 looks like very promising here to prepare knight f5. Okay, rook ac1, knight bc4. So the problem for black is Spanish knight. On a5, probably knight b7 is idea to improve him. If bishop e4, black has knight d6. And after knight b7, or after bishop e4, black can also think about takes, and rook d8. Idea to exchange rooks and try to defend this endgame. So probably knight b7 was the best try, but I like knight h4, because now if knight b7, knight f5 is coming. So white always better. So question how much better. Okay, maybe this is possible plan anyway to prepare rook takes d1 and rook d8. Try to defend this position. What else? Now black wants c4 and then knight c5, or rook takes d1 and rook d8. Okay, white can play king f1, but okay, nothing critical for black yet. Bogoljubow played knight bc4. It's a little bit strange choice because main problem for black is knight on a5, knight on b6. It's not. Probably idea of rook ac1 was to prevent knight c6, because if knight c6, rook takes d8, and black cannot take with rook because bishop e4. And black lost material. Knight takes d8, not so attractive. White can play rook e1, for example, this idea rook e7, if knight c6, rook e6. So this is idea. Probably after knight h4, however, black can play knight c6. And now they are ready to knight d4, or if knight f5, probably knight b4 is possible. There is some contraplay also. Anyway, even here, after bishop e4, white is better. a3 is threat. Black hardly can take the pawn, because after rook d6, position looks like terrible for black. So this is black cannot allow. Okay, probably after knight f5, black should play something like c4. If bishop e4, knight e5. So rook ac1, I understand idea that to prevent knight c6, but knight b7, in my opinion, was possible. c4 immediately possible as well, but after c4, okay, so I I played bad in chess.com, and I even could not finish the tournament because of light problem. But okay, not so important. So knight bc4 looks dubious for me, and now rook d5. So it's obviously that this maneuver is dubious. Knight bc4 and knight d6. Knight b7, rook d1. So now black are so in very under very unpleasant pin. So knight bc4 is bad. So in my opinion, knight b7 is more stubborn way to defense. For white, probably just king f1 is the best. If c4, knight d4. If knight c5, knight f5, but here black has more possibilities for defense that in the game. So if c4 is very good, this idea knight d4, knight c6 is possible as well. So after c4 also take b d4, pawn will be big. If knight c4, rook d7, extremely unpleasant. Pawn b4 is hardly improvement. Bishop d3, rook a8, a5 looks like more natural anyway, but only position is bad. So for black, white has many possibilities to improve position. I don't know what is the best. Even knight d2 can be considered to prepare knight c4. Rook a8. Now situation is even worse. Rook e1. Also knight d2 was excellent choice. Or knight h4. White has so good position. Rook e1, but he is preparing rook e6 or rook e7. So rook f7 only move, rook takes f7, knight takes f7. If king takes, white can go bishop takes h7, extra pawn. Probably it was the best choice for black, however, try to create at least some contraplay, because now black cannot defend his c5 pawn. Rook c8 looks like the most natural, but after rook c8, rook a7, white is winning pawn anyway. For example, rook d8 looks like after rook takes c5, black is planning knight b7. Anyway, nothing good, but at least they can play rook a1 with the idea to take on a2, and here there are some chances for draw. So not necessary for white to allow this. Bishop a6, important to follow contraplay. But knight e8 at the moment is not threats, because bishop takes h7, so white could play king f1, for example. But bishop a6 is very logical, because now bishop is not under attack. c5 pawn is hanging, knight e4 is bad because bishop c4. So rook a8, bishop e2. Again, c5 pawn is attacked and black has no possibility to defend. White can take immediately, but Lasker played bishop g4, so that's a wrong mistake. Already 2 pawns up, easy win, rook c7. Knight e1, knight d3. In which moment knight e1, knight d3? When the rook, here knight e1. Yes. Yes, that's reasonable choice, but okay, probably rook c8. If rook a7, c4, and black has some chances to survive, because knight on e1 is not so active. Then on f3. Simply king f1 is possible. This bishop takes h7. Rook d1. Okay, now black has some hopes. If knight e1, rook a1. If king e2, rook a1, and then rook takes a2. So probably not so easy. Okay, bishop f1. Okay, bishop a6. What Lasker did is quite good. So he won easily. Rook c7. Personally, I would play a4. So a4. I like to utilize that black cannot take en passant, because after a2, rook c1 is winning as well, but okay, rook c1, rook c7, king f6. Okay, this rook endgame is also totally winning. So it's something like rook a6. or okay, 8. So this is totally, or simply g3. If black has no possibility e4, e3 quickly, so this is totally losing. So black cannot survive here. But okay, it's not necessary for white. White can play also with extra piece. For example, this. Okay, 1, b2, now king h2 to prepare bishop f6. But okay, now black try something. Rook f6. If take with bishop, it will be unpleasant pin. So at least white has some difficulties. So no reason to give f2 pawn. So simply g3. And then king g2, and only after this white will improve his bishop and wins the game. 6. Okay, so a4 was strong enough, but nothing wrong with rook c7 because he's taking h7. White has too many extra pawns. And black resign. Is it everything okay with voice and video? Okay, so I will come back in 5 minutes. Good. So we will continue. I will choose something else. Again, Lasker with white. Quite long game. And now Lasker played h3. Black has many systems. So personally, I mainly played bishop b7, rook e8, Zaitsev system. But I have seen interesting line. Andrei Yesipenko played recently for black. I didn't see this. So h6 I have seen. So this. Sorry, he played Okay, this and after this he played this. It's a little bit strange for me. I don't understand why it can be good for black, but he played this. Also knight d7. a4. a4, you mean here a4? Yes, it's possible. Black can play b4 or black can play bishop d7. For example, if d4, h6, this, 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 and then c5 is coming, and black has good play. One of possible. Okay, so let's come back to Lasker against Bogoljubow. Knight a5, classical Chigorin system. Queen c7, knight d4, knight c6. More popular line here is takes on d4 and knight c6. Now white has choice. With d5, knight b4 and a5, it's playable for black. So knight b3, main line, a5, bishop e3, a4, knight bd2. Many games was played. Also my game against Cuban Grandmaster Lazaro Bruzon. Reasonable alternative for white here is to play a3. Idea to push d5, not allow knight b4. If e takes d4 or knight takes d4, white can just take and play knight f3. If e takes d4, knight b3, and then take pawn back with a good position. So after knight c6, a4. Played Lasker. It's very original choice. Because after c takes d4, knight c6, usually white is not playing a4 in this position. a4 looks a little bit anti-positional move because b4 square is weak after a4. So as I explained it, knight b3 or not knight b3 main line, but a3 is also possible. But Lasker played here a4. So usually d5 is very promising way, and many games with knight d8, for example, b3, not allow c4, and then white has some advantage in king's lands, and they can prepare knight f1, g4, knight g3, something like this. Also, black position is solid, but passive. So after a4, Bogoljubow took on d4. A takes b5 looks like logical, but Lasker didn't play this. And probably because this. White has several weak pawns. Of course, other moves. Knight b8 maybe, but knight a5 maybe better because black is fighting against c4. Also, c4 can be considered. This idea if this, bishop d3 and then take on a6. But after c4, black can play many moves. Even knight b7 is possible. This idea knight c5. Or bishop a6, e6 first. So bishop d3, knight b7. Or knight d7 is also possible to prepare knight c5. So black has quite strong contraplay. After c takes d4, knight b4 immediately played Bogoljubow. he has choice. So very logical looks to play bishop d7, for example. Not hurry with knight b4, and black is connected rooks, and they have b4 square, which is good contraplay. Probably for white is the best a takes b5. After a takes b5, also knight b4 is also possible idea, and then to for white to take, and to play b3. Idea to prepare bishop b2. So if e takes d4, bishop b2. If knight b4, bishop b1. If queen c3, rook e3 is something like this. So knight b4 played Bogoljubow immediately. Bishop b3. So bishop b1 is possible as well. After bishop b1, probably black planned to play bishop d7. This idea to take with bishop. And this idea is taken with bishop. Grishchuk utilized it in one game against Magnus Carlsen. So bishop b3 played Lasker. Knight d3 he is not afraid because rook e3 and rook takes c1 with stamp b1 has some initiative. Also it's possible for black too. Maybe nothing terrible. Black has solid position. Knight h5, in which moment knight h5? After bishop b3, knight h5 here. Knight h5 looks quite strange because what is doing? Oh, okay, first of all, a takes b5 is possible. Black is losing the pawn. Okay, knight h5 is not in this position, but even knight f1. So black should play in the queen's flank and in the center. So knight h5 is even positionally not a good idea in my opinion. Okay, so but now simply because a takes b5. So bishop b3, bishop d7, normal move. Knight f. So quite standard Spanish position. White is planning knight g3. So I'm still more or less sure that bishop d7 was more precise in this position because now black wants to take on d4. So if knight f1, black will take on d4. So white need to do something, and white has no advantage. Okay, for example, if we continue this variation, this d5, knight b4, bishop b1. Okay, it's now black has also this idea, quite standard for this type of position. Also knight a2 is possible if black wants to exchange ones of bishops. But bishop d8 is another possible plan, and then queen a7 and bishop b6. And okay, maybe it's not totally clear because bishop d2, if knight a6, b4. So black has passive knight on a6 somehow, and it requires some time to improve. So, but okay, knight a2 I like. One of white bishops will be exchanged, and black has no problem at all. So what else after bishop d7? So a4 is a dubious idea. I think black. Okay, maybe just take and takes. Maybe knight b3. It's maybe knight b3. It's better for white. to prepare bishop d2 or bishop e3. Yes, probably this is the best for white, because there is no pawn a5 anymore for black, so knight on b3 is quite comfortable. Okay, what else black can do it here after a4? Because a4 is not popular line, so almost nobody playing this. Okay, maybe bishop d7, knight b4 and take with bishop. It's a reasonable idea. But okay, it's, if this is so clear, consider. Knight b3 again, for example. But if a5, I will play bishop d2, not allow a4 immediately. So my plan is bishop d2, and for example, if rook c8, bishop d2, black cannot play knight c2 because bishop a5, and it will be some material losses for black. If a5, also bishop d2 with threat, knight takes a5. So how to play with black? It's not totally clear, not so easy. Okay, black has solid position, but for white it's more easy to play. So it's interesting why if a4 line is not popular anymore. Mainly in this position. So a4. I will check later if there are some other games. Maybe black can try also bishop e6, because d5 doesn't win a piece. d5, knight b4. If not play d5, bishop on e6 is more active than on d7. Again, for example, if takes, bishop d3, however, is possible now. But okay, bishop d3, black. Queen b8, not sure, because d5, knight b4, d takes, e takes, and black cannot take back, because queen b3 checks, so they should play king f8, but I'm not sure that this position is really good for black. So still not so easy. How to play? d5? Where d5? Okay, let's see what was in the game. Knight b4, bishop b3. Okay, bishop b1 is possible as well. Now, after bishop e6, okay, bishop e6 is possible, but as I explained, there is some problem with this. Bishop b3. I'm not sure how black can equalize it easily. Okay, maybe queen b7 is possible here. Now queen is a little bit better than on b8 because queen is attacking e4 pawn. Black has contraplay. King f8 after rook e3, knight c5. Somewhere also rook a1 idea is possible. So probably in this position black has now contraplay. Also white can try something like this. Position is very sharp. If d takes c5, knight f3, something like this. So it's very far from obvious. Okay, so this is also possible as I explained. And next move, white will play knight b3. Okay, bishop b3. Okay, knight d3 was possible as I explained it, but Bogoljubow played bishop d7. It's possible as well. Maybe bishop b7 is logical now idea to provoke d5 because after d5, knight d3 now it's position will be closed and later black can prepare bishop d8, bishop b6, typical maneuver in this position. So I think this position is quite good for black. Of course, they have a bad bishop on b7, but it is temporarily. So later, black will have time bishop c8, bishop b7, and so on. So probably bishop b7 now was stronger. So I'm not sure that bishop b3 is the best move at all. Probably bishop b1 is more accurate with idea to prepare knight f1, knight g3 standard. But anyway, black can try bishop b7. And, now something, probably even this, knight g3, a5, g6 to prepare rook fe8, bishop f8, something like this. But this is complicated position. So after bishop b3, more logical was play bishop b7, and now white cannot easily improve his knight. So after d5, black can also consider rook fc8, knight c2 idea. So black has some promising options. So bishop b7 was strong in my opinion. So bishop d7, knight f1. Hello. Rook c8, bishop g5, played Lasker. Yes, I am planning to do it in YouTube as well. But it takes some time, but it's certainly this is good idea. I'm planning to do this. Bishop g5 played Emanuel Lasker. Very natural was knight g3, however, because knight c2 at the moment doesn't work because black losing the pawn. But okay, maybe b takes a4 was problem. Rook takes a4. If queen takes a4, knight d3, it's unpleasant somehow. Also, okay, so queen takes a4, knight c2, lose an exchange. So it's just blunder. But now knight c2 is unpleasant. Rook e2 is not possible because knight takes d4, bishop is hanging. So this is idea of bishop g5. If rook f1, queen c6. This is double attack. So white has tactical problems. Rook is hanging, pawn e4 is hanging. b3 is possible. Black cannot take immediately on e4 because d5, but queen b5 is unpleasant for white. Knight f5, for example, rook e8. But okay, still unclear position. White can try bishop g5. Probably this is good position for white. a6 is hanging as well, so not so easy. So maybe knight g3 was a good idea, or at least playable. Of course, black can play something like g6, but if g6, bishop Bogoljubow and Rubinstein. Okay, I will check. Bogoljubow, Rubinstein. Rubinstein. Aha, bishop b1. Aha, okay. Bishop b1. Okay, I will check. So knight g3 was totally normal move. G6 is dangerous because bishop h6, rook c1. So white knight is fighting. So tactically, if it tactically works, so I don't see any positional problem for white to play knight g3. Bishop g5 is possible as well, so probably Lasker afraid some tactics. And now if black doing the same, white has rook e2, but after rook f1. So black has many problems. So a6 pawn is hanging, so knight f5 is unpleasant threat. So they have no initiative actually. Because of this, in my opinion, white is better. So bishop d7, I think, is just a bad move because it allows knight f1, knight g3, so or at least dubious move. Okay, bishop g5 played Lasker, h6. Rook f8. Also, in such kind of position, necessary to check bishop takes f7 with rook on d8. Bishop takes f7 and queen b3 idea, but at the moment it doesn't work because black has queen c4. So a takes b5, possible, but I don't know if really necessary. For example, knight e3, it's possible to consider very natural move to prepare knight f5. Of course, white should calculate g5, but g5 is very risky for black. So white can consider even this sacrifice, and then queen f3 is coming, or this kind of sacrifice with very strong attack. Or even after bishop g3, knight takes e4, queen b1 is possible. And black has some tactical problems. They cannot take on g3, so queen b7 is only move, and d takes e5. But okay, I believe that here extremely dangerous for black, because all of pieces are in other flank, so black king in big danger. So knight e3 was totally possible. Of course, g5 may be not only move, but what to play. White is planning knight f5 probably, or knight g4. White has several good possibilities. Probably rook fd8 is probably rook fe8 more precise somehow. So now if knight e3, black has knight takes e4, bishop is protected. Okay, white can play knight g3. Again, this idea, if g5, knight takes g5 is attack. But Lasker took on b5. Okay, if a takes b5, good for him because he will have line for rook. But Bogoljubow took with bishop, and now he wants to play knight d3, create some contraplay. How strong this contraplay is question, but at least black is doing something. So if knight e3, now knight takes e4 is possible because of the takes, knight f5, queen f6. White is not winning the piece. Rook e3 played Lasker. Okay, it's better square for knight, but he wants to play rook c3. Queen b6 played Bogoljubow. Okay, maybe queen b7 is more precise with idea to have bishop protected. Also, this is logical plan somehow. Just now black can consider knight h7 idea to exchange bishops. I don't know how strong it is, but yes, but bishop f7, queen b3, queen c4 at the moment doesn't work, this idea. So usually From positional point of view, this exchange is good for black, but I'm not sure tactically because rook c1 is coming. So white has initiative in queen's flank. And okay, but in the game after rook e3, probably now black can try something with knight. So he played queen b6. Now bishop is not protected. Probably he could play knight h7. This idea to. But okay, now necessary calculate this line because black has no queen c4 anymore. If d5, knight takes e5, okay, probably it's nothing dangerous because white pieces are not so active. Knight e5, king g8, and probably this attack is not totally enough for white. Also, you can check this d6 is threat somehow. But no, if queen takes d5, bishop e7. So, but now bishop takes g4, h4 is simply possible if d6, queen d5. So knight h7, maybe idea. Knight h5, positionally good, but I am afraid that knight takes e5 is possible immediately or after rook c3. But maybe I'm not sure if it works, frankly speaking, so it's also necessary to consider. Because, for example, if takes, if knight takes e5, it's totally fine for black. Black can take on d4. It's a good game, I hope. Okay, it's not a finish of variation. White can try to organize attack, but black has quite strong contraplay. It looks like, for example, king h8, if bishop takes f7, queen takes e4. If rook c3, okay, queen b7. Again, if knight takes e5, black has same idea. Take on e5, take on h4, and take on d4. Bishop takes f7, queen b3, d5. Okay, something sharp, but I hope that black is not losing. So positionally, idea to exchange these bishops was logical. So queen b6, now bishop is not protected, so black has no this idea anymore, but okay. Knight g3, g6, also solid for black. So knight f5 is stopped, and Lasker played knight e2. Knight c6. So knight wants to go to c3, and Bogoljubow is fighting with this. It's knight c6. And after d5, it looks like positionally very, very good for black because white has no any attack. So, but okay, it's possible to understand Lasker, which he he doesn't want to give the pawn, although probably it was possible to consider tactical idea. For example, bishop a4. Black taking pawn, surely white will have enough compensation because bishop will come back to b3 and so if e takes d4, bishop takes c6. So if black wants to play with extra pawn, so knight takes d4, knight takes d4, but at least white is not worse here. So after e takes d4, okay, at least possible to take on f6 and play queen d3. But because knight cannot go So white can play queen d3 immediately with surely enough compensation, at least for equality. So d5, it looks like a big concession of white, and I think positionally black is just better because black pieces are in more natural positions. Knight c4 played. Bogoljubow, of course, other moves was totally possible. For example, king g7, standard idea to prepare knight g8. Black has excellent position. Well, okay, knight c4. He wants to play with two bishops. It's understandable. Bishop e8 was possible, but after bishop e8, probably knight d2 was idea of Lasker. White should defend his bishop, or rook a3, I don't know. But anyway, black is good. So if knight d2, simply king g7 is possible with idea to prepare knight g8. Knight c4 he played, bishop takes c4. Rook takes c4. Why rook takes c4 is not so clear. Bishop takes c4. It's like very natural, and after knight d2, queen takes b2 necessary to consider. So I don't see how white can utilize black queen, but probably they can. So probably this and knight a4. Bishop d3 only move. Okay, this is dangerous for black, but losing for black. Rook a1 is so knight d2. So queen takes b2 is forbidden for black. But okay, still white has no threats because after b3, bishop b5. So again, black can do something. King g7 to prepare knight g8. Okay, but Bogoljubow took with rook, also reasonable decision. Queen b3, rook dc8, knight h2, king g7, knight f1. Strange play. So if white wants to go to d2 with knight, more natural was to play immediately knight d2. But he played knight h2, knight f1, and then knight d2. So very, very strange play. Difficult to understand such a play. At this point, so king g7. Now knight d2. c7. Rook d4 maybe was possible to check if this bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, rook c3. This kind of position looks like slightly better for black. He played bishop h4, so why not queen d4, for example? Looks like very natural move. Black is trying to attack something. And how white will defend, it's not so clear. Because if rook d3, rook c1 is coming. So knight is attacked, rook is attacked, so it looks like just bad position for white. How to defend? Knight f3 doesn't work because queen takes e4 and black has f5 square. Connection is lost. Rook c7 and rook d1, okay, but bishop g5. Is it good with connection? Hello, hello. Okay, maybe white has chances to survive in this position. Queen takes b5. Yes, but white is in trouble, obviously. Rook c5, for example. Queen b3. Rook c2, queen c2. So black is clearly better. White is not losing immediately, but white is in unpleasant situation. Okay, after rook d1. Yes, probably bishop g5 is the best. Although black can do something else, for example, h5 simply is possible, or rook c5, just to protect the pawn and to see what white will do, because now bishop g5 is threat. Now pawn b5 is protected, so next move will be bishop g5, and what will do white? Because if queen f3, rook c2, queen f3 also I can take on b2, so it looks like after queen d4, Bogoljubow has excellent winning chances. Yes, so rook c5 I like. Defensive move. It looks like white will lost material quite soon. So I don't see idea how white can defend against bishop g5. Or here, everything is okay with my. Okay, maybe this is possible. But still very unpleasant. Even rook takes c3, rook takes c3, and rook a8. Rook a1 is coming. Okay, but now white can try queen c2 and knight f1. So they are not losing immediately. Unpleasant position for sure, but white is still fighting. Now is working. Okay, so probably rook ac1 is the best choice for white, but maybe this is possible to consider. Rook takes. Okay, maybe not enough, because if rook c7, if queen takes d2, queen f3 is coming, and white has threat against f7. But check, and bishop f4. h4 only try to, but h4 it's mate. So bishop h4 probably winning. g3, bishop takes g3, it's important, so white cannot. Ah, but maybe white can play with king on h2. So king h1 is losing already. Maybe king h2 is possible. Yes, king h2, of course. White should play now. Now white defended successfully. So king h1 was mistake. So probably the rook ac1 is the best try to in this position. White is bad, but they are still fighting. So video and voice is okay, right? Hello. Okay, so rook f1, defend at Lasker. Only move because g3 not possible. Bishop g5. So queen d4 was possible again. Okay, but now also rook d3 white has, or knight f3 probably. Some chances for rook d3 it's possible. Because black has no idea rook c1. So queen must go back. Bishop takes f2, rook takes f2, rook c1, knight f1 doesn't work. Play bishop g5, knight f3, bishop f4. King is on the stance. G3, king g2. So, opinion here, his winning chances. In d4 was the best. Okay, he's not, but white is suffering. Or if he wanted to play bishop g5, bishop f4, he could play here probably. Because now king h1 is not possible. Probably, however, king f1 is a reasonable idea to prepare g3. So, okay, queen d4, rook c1. What is the strongest continuation for black? I want to understand. Okay, I'm using space and working from laptop. H4. King G2. So now white is equalized game more or less. It's problem of exchange probably. Was possible to take. But if takes, white cannot play immediately with rook because f2 is hanging in g2 queen c4. So white is losing. So king g2, bishop d8, rook b1, bishop b6, rook b2, queen takes c3, queen takes b, bishop c. So still positions. Yes, it's draw, but a little bit more pleasant for black probably. Although f2 is well. Queen takes d2 and queen takes c1. Okay, but this is not convincing. Okay, white has enough resources to survive here. The best looks rook takes c3, rook takes c3, and rook a8. Knight f1, but I don't. And probably bishop g5, something like this. Idea to prevent rook e3. For example, g3, h5, h4, bishop h6. Now rook e1 is threat. Black wants to provoke f3, and after f3, white king will be weaker. But okay, probably white still can defend this. Hello. Okay, so let's use again. Queen e2 wasn't totally necessary because f2 is well protected. Probably white can play something more active, like h4, for example, to prepare h5. If rook c4, rook e2, probably. Queen d3. No g1. Something like this. But okay, queen e2 is logical decision to consolidate pieces. So queen c4 now. It obviously looks like drawish. White took immediately on c4. Not necessary. h4, logical plan to prepare h5. If black plays h5, knight will have g5 square. Okay, so h5 probably just mistake, because white has this and rook b7 and then knight g5, white is winning. So if immediately, if takes, okay, if h5, okay, even knight g5 is possible with drawish position. Rook a4. Now still black is a little bit more active, but nothing special. Knight c4. Knight takes e5 is threat. Maybe not big threat, because rook takes e4 is coming, but so very drawish. Knight e3. Very strange. What? He allows rook b3, and Bogoljubow didn't play rook b3, so rook b3 looks like very natural move. Black has some pressure. Okay, king e2 probably, but okay, white can hold the position, of course. b6, rook a2, f5. So, okay, f5. What is this? Of course, it looks like very drawish. For example, white can simply take. Check. Ah, rook which and rook e2. Okay, this is draw. If king g6, rook d7, for example. Rook e3. And black rook b3. Okay. So knight e3, rook b3. Okay, king e2, I think. Rook e5. Somehow. Okay, maybe nothing special, but it's not necessary for to, to take on e3 immediately. Now, no, rook e2 is very passive, but king e2 is correct. To prevent f5 without bishop takes e3. But with bishop takes e3, it's draw. Okay, so now it's strange. Rook a8, strange move, because rook b2, now white has some problem. Maybe not a big, but now they have two weaknesses. But there is question if black can improve position somehow. Bogoljubow played e4. Okay, probably. So white is just waiting. Well, probably they can hold this position even this way, but it's very strange. e4 with king here, e4. e4 will be more or less same like in the game, because he played e4 later. Rook b8. So if in your position, okay, it's just same as in the game. Maybe now white has even some more possibilities, like knight c4, but okay, it's not important. Just rook b8. Sorry, rook b8, rook e2, and king f6, and white is losing in this pawn endgame. So okay, rook e8 is normal move. And now pawn endgame is not dangerous for white, so looks like draw. But still black has some pressure. King f7 and probably rook d2. This threat rook d4 and rook d5. Knight c4 is not possible because rook d4, so rook e2, king f3. So black has a very pleasant position, but the question is they can... Okay, they can take so white is more or less in Zugzwang. And okay, if black takes pawn, bishop e3 and rook takes d5, it will be drawish, but so now it's okay, maybe something like this. If takes, of course white should take with rook because this is losing. But this endgame very likely drawish. I don't think that black can win this. White will play correctly. Okay, what else? Maybe white can defend more accurately. But okay, still. So I agree. Very strange moment. Rook a8 is just a bad move for sure. So after e takes f5, white is not worse at all. So it's easy draw. But after rook a8, white is obviously suffering. So now, yes, e4 was possible. Okay, white should hold the position, but it will be very likely it will be a rook endgame without pawns, so black has some practical chances. Okay, maybe white can also try knight c4. Rook c2, for example, rook a4, rook c3, and king f4, rook d3, and still unpleasant for white. Rook b8. So more or less similar situation. If compare rook b2. So king on f6. So if it works, white has no check at the moment. So yes, king rook b8 is losing. Yes, rook b8, rook e2 losing. I agree. So white should play. Okay, probably rook e8 is the best. So this, and king f4, and to play this. King takes losing, so rook takes, and so now I think it should be draw. Black has pawn up, but I don't think that black has real winning chances here. For example, rook b5, rook a7 check, king f6, rook d7. Should be draw. So black is better, but probably it's not enough for win. Now he played rook b8. So pawn endgame is draw. King f4, king f6, g4 played Lasker. So he exchanged many pawns. Knight f6. Black still has pawn up, but no material to win. Knight d7, rook endgame is drawish, of course. Lasker played knight h7, knight g5. And they agreed to draw. Okay, so quite tough game. Bogoljubow outplayed his opponent, but he not managed to win. So Lasker won in 22 moves. How it was happened? Bishop c4. Very strange. Bishop b5, a6, bishop c4. Difficult to believe that in such level they are playing this, because a6 is obviously useful move for black. But okay, we'll see. Knight f6, d3. Hello. Bishop c5. Always black. Bishop c5. Bishop e7. Castle d6. And then g6, bishop g7. Okay, bishop c5, knight c3, d6, bishop e3. Totally harmless. Only advantage for white that black has no bishop e6, bishop b6, which was possible with. Okay, modern player play. It works this idea. Important idea somewhere. Black is playing knight a5. White can play bishop d5. So if knight takes, e takes d5, black has some problem with his knight. And after c6, b4. So sometimes it works. So for example, if image this position, for example, this, now bishop d5, it's logical. Now b4, and white will have some attacking chances. Okay, also question how strong it is. rook f8 and king g8 is coming, so probably black is good. Then rook a7, but okay, so for example a4, b4, knight e2, then knight g3, knight h4, so white has some active play. So this idea is quite useful, but it doesn't work exactly in this position. So knight a5 was very natural move, but of course bishop e6 was possible to play symmetrical and totally equal position. But Bogoljubow played strange. He played bishop e6, immediately allowed the structure. Okay, sometimes it's playable. Anish Giri played recently in Vaikanzei, but here black has no initiative. So in my opinion, it's playable if black has some initiative. But okay, b3, castle, knight a4, queen d6, knight b2. So knight is coming to c4, b5, a4, knight d4. I'm not sure that what is doing white is good, because knight on b2 is a little bit strange. But white won very quickly, so knight f3 and queen a6. What is this? Okay, black can just go back with rook, and knight h5, knight f4 is coming. So very strange game. Okay, so here white can play something more logical. Okay, the most logical plan in such type of position is to play a4, for example, castle, castle, and then knight d4, knight d2, knight c4. Also, opponent of Anish Giri had plan knight d2, knight c4, but he missed this chance. I don't remember who was opponent, but it's easy to check from Vaikanzei this year. So a4 and knight d2, knight c4. But okay, this is very strange. So queen a6, knight a4. He missed queen b2, resign. Okay, very strange game at all. Okay, so what else? d6, d4, knight f6. So Lasker white, Bogoljubow black. So knight f6. According to modern theory, these variations is okay, maybe dubious, maybe just bad for black, because white has advantage after d takes e5, knight takes e4, queen d5, knight c5, bishop g5, queen d7, e takes d6. If bishop e7, e takes d6, and knight c3, white is better. If queen d7, e takes d6 and knight c3, and white is clearly better. But okay, knight c3, knight bd7, Hanem system, bishop c4, bishop e7, castle, castle, bishop g5. Very strange move. Usually a4 is main choice for white. So bishop g5. Also, Erigaishi played against me, bishop g5. Surprisingly, I am lost very quick. So I played something really strange. So I played c6, a4, I played h6, bishop e3, I played knight g4, this. And instead of play knight f6 normal move, I played this. And I played bishop f6, and after knight f5, I'm losing already. So it was my terrible game against Erigaishi. But after h6, bishop e3, so bishop h4 may be possible, but necessary to check knight takes e4. After knight takes e4, d5. So here bishop b3 again. So white usually stops b5 with a4. Okay, as I already explained it, in this type of position, black can play knight h5 and exchange the bishops. Positionally is good for black, such an exchange. And there is no tactical refutation here. Somewhere knight takes e5 is possible, but not here, because if this knight takes e5, d takes e5, e takes d4, e4 pawn is hanging. It's excellent for black. Bogoljubow played rook e8 firstly, queen d3, queen c4. So creative Lasker find idea with. So probably idea of bishop b3 was if b5 to have d5. It's question how strong it is. For example, this knight takes d7, this bishop b7. Black has totally enough compensation. Or even knight c5, bishop d5, rook b8. So okay, strange strategy, but rook e8, queen c4. So white is attacking f7, so rook f8, black lost tempo. Still black has solid position. Knight e2, knight Lasker. Okay, more natural looks a4. At the moment b5 is not threat, but later it can be. But probably Lasker wanted to defend against knight f4. But okay, knight f4, in my opinion, it's not so dangerous for white. So rook e3, it's possible. Rook e1. Maybe even g3, it's possible. Black has no series. But g3, knight b6, queen b4, okay, maybe g3, it's possible. If white plays a5, here white is losing the queen suddenly. Oh, of course, this is variation. Cooperative. Knight e2. So Lasker now has c3 square for his queen. But black has nice position. So this, for example, is possible. Attack e4 pawn to prepare bishop g4, to prepare bishop e6. But okay, a5, queen c3. So very strange play. b5. But okay, position is approximately equal, probably even slightly too easy to a strange move. So normal, in my opinion, was before. Yeah. It's not so obvious. But okay, b2, if c5, bishop b5, so white is fighting. Or okay, or even play something like this. It's normal to protect e4 pawn and later do more play. Natural was a8, for example, and then from 97 also bishop c8, bishop e6 is reasonable for black in such type of positions. So impressive these maneuvers, what they are doing, but okay, position is not very concrete, so bishop c8 he played. So black is better. White has obvious problem with knight, a3, rook e7. So now important question if it's time for black to create some threats. Maybe before was possible. Start to concrete play in queen's flank. Try to utilize knight on h4. If this, c3, queen b3, and rook b8 is coming. Rook a1 and so on. Okay, probably it's not a time. So rook e7 he played, d1, queen d4. Of course, many other moves was possible. Now before was possible rook b7, so black is obviously better. Queen d4, queen f2. So white wants to exchange queens and try to defend these positions. He took queen c4. So, what is this? White is pawn down. Position became and because of this, it's very important to calculate variation in precise way. Of course, here queen takes b2 is not necessary. Black, if they want, can play, for example, this and have good pressure. b4 is coming, and then c5. So white has hard position because knight h4 is out of play. Okay, but at the moment, at least, white has hold g4, g3, knight g2. So black could think about h5 positional move. And now white knight is probably on h4 forever, especially with queens. Okay, white has here queen d2 and knight f5 check probably, and queen g5. But for example, like in the game, so queen f2. Now, very logical was okay, maybe h5 immediately. Stop here with g4. And, okay, takes an f3 probably, but anti-positional because g4 square 3 8 and white has permanent problem with g4 square. Or just to play. So black has white choice, so sometimes it's not so easy to play if there is such a pleasant choice. Okay, but at the moment I want to ask if everything is okay with video and voice. Please confirm it. Hello. Please confirm that everything is okay. Okay, so queen takes b2, queen c5. So for example, after queen f2, he could take and to play h5. Restrict knight. So if f4, knight g4 with tempi. So, and after this, white has no contraplay. And black can prepare before b7 and b4, something like this. But okay, so he took on b2, sharp decision, and after queen c5, situation is changed. So now rook is attacked, white wants to take c6, or white wants to play rook b1. So this is very concrete situation, totally different as before. The question how to play correctly. So black can try to play this, for example, if rook b1, queen d4, queen takes c6, and just play queen e3. So my idea to play queen g5 and attack. How white will defend, it's not so clear. Of course, it's possible to start with knight h5. And now queen e3, this idea queen g5. Or even knight takes g3, queen g5 check, or knight g3, queen f4 is possible. But simple queen g5 is very unpleasant threat. So not so obvious for me how white can defend against this. Because, okay, queen c3, with idea to prepare queen e1, but after queen c3, black can play something. At least bishop c4. E5 is hanging, sorry. So probably bishop c4 is possible. Queen takes. Not possible. My idea was f6, but queen takes h5. So queen c3 looks like only move. And then queen e1. So queen g5, queen e1. But the situation still unpleasant for white. Bishop c4 is coming. So takes. Rook will penetrate to d2. Okay, but this rook d1 winning. So unpleasant situation. And so rook d7. Okay, take on c6 immediately. Black can take on a3 with very promising position. So rook b1, queen d4, and now, yes, knight h5. Okay, knight h5 or queen e3 also. Okay, knight h5 I like. Yes, queen e5 has no time for rook takes b5 because black is taken with check. So queen e1, bishop c4. Situation is quite difficult for white. So I think rook d7 was correct way. Yes, knight is terrible. Yes, after this, queen a3, also in future, black has idea queen e7, knight h5, queen g5. after rook e d7, white is clearly better. So rook b1, queen d4, knight h5, and queen e3. But Bogoljubow played rook c7, rook b1, so he protected c6 pawn, but allowed white rook. Black has no idea with queen e3 anymore, so rook e d7 was stronger, in my opinion. Now white has reasonable contraplay, but okay, he played g5. Probably he had concrete idea. We'll see. Knight f5. Or knight h5. Probably this was his concrete idea. The problem for white that they cannot defend pawn g3. Creative idea, not so standard. Rook e d7 standard is and strong, but what he played is not so standard, but probably strong as well. Because if queen takes d4, knight takes g3 check, and two rooks are hanging, and white is losing material. So rook e1. Okay, white can start with king h2, but start with king h2 can take anyway, because king take g3, it's just mate. So it's same like in the game, rook e. But okay, so black won the pawn, but now suddenly white pieces are very well coordinated. It is sign that compensation for the pawn can be enough. White take on e5. Okay, black can take on f5, of course, because bishop takes f5 not possible. Well, black is it's possible because bishop h3, I miss it. So this idea doesn't work. So knight takes f5 doesn't work. So now looks like white has totally sufficient compensation for the pawn. Probably black can play f6 immediately, but in endgame a4 pawn is weak, so it's not so clear. And now already black knight, it's strange. So white has strong contraplay. Okay, play check. He played f6, so he's trying to defend. Yes, but now black lost coordination of pieces, and Lasker took on e5. Other possibilities, rook b4 was possible, for example, or even queen before rook d4. So, okay, rook b4 was totally possible. Check, king f2, queen 5, something like. Okay, white can even take on a4. Black has no special. Prepare rook e7. Okay, but Lasker took on e5. Takes, king g8. And now he played rook b4. Queen takes c7, queen d4 is problem for white. And then c takes b5. Rook b4 is forced. Queen h1, rook f7. Now rook b8. Why rook b8? It's not so obvious for me. What is problem if simply to take? Looks like white has very strong central position and good winning chances. Coordination of black pieces are totally destroyed. So bishop c4 at the moment is not threat because mate from h4, but white wants to play rook e4 and then bishop c4. So I have feelings that white is clearly better here. But Lasker played rook b8, so white rook is active. Why to exchange? I don't understand. So he forced a draw. Okay, now for mate. If queen taken, black can play queen h4, exchange queens, and only black can be better. So rook b8 is just bad move. I don't know why Lasker played such a move. King takes g3, in my opinion. Very bad. Simple h5 never possible because f6. So I think white is probably winning here. Okay, so at the moment I need to take some break. Just a minute. Hello. So this game was finished by perpetual check after strange rook b8. So this game won Bogoljubow. So French defense. Lasker played bishop d3. Okay, of course, it's not the main line according to theory. So usually white is playing e5, f4. This bishop e3 or bishop g5. Although during the last time black is trying this variation, not so easy to demonstrate how white can have advantage here. Before, the most popular was this line. Bishop d3 played Emmanuel Lasker. c5 principal reaction. Of course, black can play Rubinstein system, but c5 is more principal. Knight f3. Now black has choice. Bogoljubow took on d4 with c4, bishop e2. This is possible, but if, for example, bishop b4 takes castle, with idea bishop g5. If h6, knight e5 is possible somehow. Also, knight c6 is normal move, but in that case, no, even what Lasker planned, probably a castle is possible if c takes d4, c takes d4. If knight takes d5, knight b5, but it's complicated. I'm not totally sure that compensation is enough after bishop c5. Okay, what else? E takes d5 is normal, but e takes d5, castle, c4, rook e1, bishop e7, bishop f1. This is solid opportunity for white. And now white is ready to play bishop g5. If black will prevent this, knight e5 is coming. That's now probably b3 is possible. So I think e takes d5 is the most logical line. So Bogoljubow took on d4. Knight c6, bishop b5. Well, white lost tempo, but they are playing against isolated pawn. E takes d5, calmly play Bogoljubow. Totally possible to take and simplify position. But in this endgame, not so easy to make draw because long castle, rook d3, rook d1 is coming. So he takes d5. There are more pieces in the board, so black has better options for contraplay. Bishop e3. More natural looks develop bishop on g5, for example, rook e1. After castle, bishop g5, like this position. So in my opinion, probably this is the most principal way for black. After castle, h6. So maybe possible to play without h6, just play this, for example. If bishop g5, knight bd7, and black is prepared for bishop takes c3 and queen a5. But now knight e5 is possible. So h6 is my suggestion. If bishop g5 immediately, necessary to check this. Queen a5. Black is ready for knight e4. If bishop f6, check. Knight d2 takes 6. This big question that white has for this week. Looks like solid, but after h6. Okay, knight e5 is natural castle. Bishop f3. Black can play bishop e6 and then knight bd7, something like this. Are there any questions for me? So I'm considering quite rare line. But okay, it's position playable for both. Bishop d2, for example. From modern players, I have seen that Alexander knight c3, knight f6, bishop d3. Maybe not so stupid, especially if opponent is not prepared. Okay, there are many questions. For example, this c4 and knight takes e4. Knight takes e4 takes. If knight e5, b5. What is this? But okay, a4. If f6, white has this trick. And then bishop takes e4 and bishop takes a8. So f6 doesn't. So here rook e1. I have seen David Navarra played this with white successfully. Probably rook e8 is the best here for black. Or h6 firstly and then rook e8. But bishop e3 not so active as bishop g5 because black has more active possibilities. Hello, are there any wishes? So castle, knight b3. Played Bogoljubow, played Lasker. Again, rook e1 looks like a reasonable choice for white, but I would prefer to have bishop on g5 anyway, then e3. Hello, b3, a6. So white can go bishop with bishop back, but in that case probably bishop e6 can play black with playable position. So Lasker choose bishop takes c6, b takes c6, bishop c5. So he is fighting for c5 square, but black has reasonable contraplay in centrum. Please write somebody, I need to be sure that hello, chat is passive. It's working. Rook e1 again. I don't know why Lasker doesn't want to develop his rook. Freeze. Time connection had problems. Okay, so bishop f5. He's attacking the pawn, rook ac1, bishop d6. Playable position, both has their trumps. The most natural for white now looks take on d6, and after queen takes d6 just to play f3 or h3, for example. Maybe f3. To prevent knight g4. Slightly better, okay, good. Lasker played immediately f3, dubious decision because he allows black to avoid exchange of bishops, so I don't like f3 idea. So this and f3 looks like more natural. And next move queen c5 can be, or also queen c5 immediately can be considered, but queen c5 necessary to calculate probably this line. so clear. What is this? Because if c3, d3. What about now? Is it good? Hello. It's okay now. So this is not totally clear how to play with white. Positionally, white is good, but tactically, black has some threats. So takes f3. It's my choice. And now queen c5 is prepared, or rook f2 is prepared. He played f3, bishop e5. Now black has obvious initiative, so white pieces in queen's flank looks a little bit strange. F3 is bad. F4 is possible, but it's obvious weakness e4 pawns. E4 square. So after f4, bishop d6 is possible. Or bishop takes c3, knight e4 is also possible to consider after f4. But after g3, bishop h3, knight d7, white has some problem with his king. And to keep controlled c5 square, he played knight a4, but now black has two bishops advantage, and white king will be in danger situation soon because of bishop on h3, because white knights is very far from king's flank, so white already in real danger. Rook e3, so inversion starts. Also possible was h5 probably, but after h5 queen g5 is not so clear, so Bogoljubow is not hurried. Knight b3. Okay, strange move, but it's question what to recommend here. For example, if knight e1, with idea to prepare knight c2, knight d4, black can take and play queen a5. I don't see something good for white in this position, so they're just losing the pawns. So rook already on e3, so black can improve position with h5, h4. Knight b3, bishop f5. Now knight c5 already black can consider bishop takes g3. I'm not sure that this is winning. How? Okay, of course black can just play h5 simply and then h4. But bishop takes g3, it's possible as well, but I'm not sure that this is winning. King h1. Black has no e6 square for his rook. If rook f3, white can play rook takes f3 and queen g2, or just play rook g2 is possible. So this is sacrifice, not wins. But okay, so black can just play h5 and knight takes a6. They can ignore it. It's just queen c8 and then h4. So attack will be very dangerous because white has knight in different flank. Knight e1, bishop h3, knight g2. Again, bad position for white. Probably the best chance is c4 somehow to create contraplay. But Lasker played rook e1. It's tactical mistake. And after this game is over. So rook takes e1, knight takes e1, bishop takes g3. Not so difficult, but it's winning. Because after h takes g3, queen takes g3 check. If knight g2, bishop takes g2, rook takes g2, rook e1, very simple. If king h1, rook takes e1, bishop g2. If take bishop, white losing the queen. So this, and mate. So Lasker played rook e2, which is obviously hopeless because black is taking another pawn. If rook takes h2, queen g3 wins immediately. So white is 2 pawns down. Okay, 1 pawn down, but it's impossible to defend his king. Queen e1. Resign because after making queen c3. Okay, so quite poor game for Emanuel Lasker, but opening it's quite interesting. Only, in my opinion, white should play bishop g5 instead of bishop e3 or rook e1 and bishop g5. Well, yesterday during the stream, knight c6, knight f3, e5, e takes d5, knight c3, queen h5, bishop e2, bishop g4, h3, castle, castle, knight f6, d3, e5. So it's of course this line usually black doing for blitz. So it's such kind of attack doesn't look serious, and if white play precisely, very likely black is just losing. But I remember that h takes g4, knight takes g4, knight h4 is one possible line. So only move for black is so idea is to play knight d4 here. If g3, knight d4 doesn't work because king g2, knight takes f3, rook h1, and white is winning. But after g3, queen h3, it's possible. Probably not so simple because now if rook e1, knight d4. If now knight e4, black has this idea. Bishop c5 with threat queen takes g3. So knight h4 was idea. f5, g3. And now if bishop e7, white can play king g2. Although f3 is possible as well. If g5, black has this strong contraplay. But after g5, bishop. Somebody hear me? F takes g4, knight f5. Hello. I want to check if somebody here. And probably black has no enough compensation here. Because if e4, idea to play knight e5. For example, if knight takes e4, knight e5 is unpleasant, knight f3 is threat. So if knight takes g5, h6 is dangerous for white. But after e4, d4 is strong. Hello, and now I think white is better. Because after knight e5, I simply will take on e5. After bishop c5, white has knight e3. g4 is attacked. And again, after knight e5, d takes e5. Rook takes, rook takes. And this position looks like clearly better for white. So this is blitz variation. Of course, d4, d5, e5 is solid line for white. c3 and then f4 and knight f3. But okay, knight f3. If e5 standard game, bishop b5 or bishop c4. So queen h5. d3. Okay, maybe it's possible to take immediately because if knight d4, bishop f4. So e5 and now knight h4. So this is critical position and I think white is better. So because if bishop e7, maybe f3. In g5, this is important. Take and knight f5. f3 is possible as well, but f3 is weak, so this is strong. And knight f5. And in my analysis, I didn't find how black can continue his attack successfully. White has threat knight e3. It's very important. And if e4, d4. So this is my suggestion about against this line in Scandinavia. Okay, so for today is enough. Thanks for your attention. Goodbye.
Bang, bang, bang.
After knight e3, black is taking and castle. So after this exchange, black is okay. So I think it wasn't the best from Vichy. We played this. So white should play something else probably. This position.